Hi, this is David from Ash IT. Now, on my channel, I'm always using my iMac 24. I absolutely love it for editing, for making notes, recording the audio for these videos. I use it all the time, but I've got two main gripes with this machine. One, the lack of ports and the fact that they're on the back, so I'm always reaching around my iMac. And two, the lack of storage, unless you want to pay Apple an absolute fortune to upgrade the SSD. I've only got 512GB of mine and I'm always running out of storage. So when I saw this 9-in-1 docking station from Orico, I knew I had to get one in and try it. Because not only has it got all the ports I need that I can put in front of the iMac to make it easily accessible, it also has a little SSD slot in the bottom, meaning that I can increase the storage for my iMac without spending an absolute fortune with Apple. So this is quite a solid aluminium design. I've got the sort of the space grey colour because I've also got MacBooks as well as the iMac 24. Feels very solid. But what it basically gives us is an incredible amount of ports that I can sit down in front of my iMac and be able to plug my devices in on a regular basis, which I need to do regularly with my machine. So to quickly first rattle through the ports, on the front of the device, we've got a HDMI which can do 4K 60Hz, which is very handy. A USB-C which also includes 100 watts of power delivery. So if you're using this for a Mac, you can have all of your bits and pieces onto this dock, plug your MacBook in, it will also charge your MacBook. Now with me using an iMac here, I won't use the power delivery function, but that's very handy for laptop users. We've also got a full-size SD card and a micro SD card. Being a video editor, I'm always plugging SDs in and out. Now, there's no SD card reader on my 24-inch iMac, but even before with my 27-inch iMac, having to reach around to the back of the machine to plug in that SSD was a real pain. And then we've also got two legacy USB-A ports. These are just so handy, and I mean, I don't know why Apple has to strip everything out because I'm constantly still plugging in flash drives, mice, keyboards, older peripherals that still use these ports on a daily basis. If we move to the left side of the device, we've got a headset jack, which again is very handy, saves me having to reach around the side of my iMac. And we've also got the host USB-C cable. This will go to your device, in my case the iMac, or it could go to your laptop, your Windows machine, whatever, but that's what you'll be plugging your device into. And on the other side, we've got yet another USB-A port, and we've also got an RJ45 port so you can plug in your network. Right, so what else do we get in the box? Now I have already opened this up, so this isn't a proper unboxing, but just opening it up, we've got a decent length USB-C cable, so you can plug that in and then move it whereabouts you want it on your desk to make it easily accessible for yourself. We've got a screwdriver. Now this is very handy because obviously we're going to be putting in an SSD in a second, so we're going to need that. We've got a very small instruction manual. I won't even bother using that. We've got some screws that we're going to need to put our SSD in, and we've got these little plugs. I haven't quite worked out what these are for. We'll have a look in a second. And we've also got a strip of SSD thermal tape. Now I'll show you in a second, but we're going to put this on top of our little M.2 SSD, and that will help transfer the heat away from the SSD out through this aluminium enclosure, which is basically a large heatsink. And lastly, just a little warranty card. Okay, so before we test this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop an SSD in here. So turning it over. Unscrew the one screw, take out the aluminium plate, and you can see inside of here, we've got our M.2 slot here, and we've also got multiple mounting points. Now it's set to the 80mm, which is your default SSD size, but should you have a 30 or a 42mm, you can just change that little blank there to make it the size for your SSD. So let me grab an M.2 SSD. I've just got an old 1TB. This is quite a cheap SN550 drive. This is great because it won't break the bank when you're buying one of these, but it's still more than good enough for external storage. I'm going to quickly pop that into the drive, put it down, pop in our little screw. That holds the SSD firmly in place. And I'm going to take my thermal tape, peel the little bit of plastic away, we don't need that. Plastic on both sides, and pop this on top of the SSD, making sure you cover all the chips, because that's where obviously the heat is going to be coming out. Now I'm going to take my aluminium base cover back on and screw this back together, and that is it. We are up and running with our SSD. The only thing you'll need to do now is in Windows or Mac is just format your SSD and just partition it. Right, so I'm going to just power this up, put it into the iMac, and we're going to test this SSD out. Right, so we're up and running, we're in Mac, I have plugged in my dock with my SSD, and as you can see I've just formatted the storage drive, which is a 1TB drive, via exFAT, to be used on Windows and for Mac, and you can see my original Mac hard drive here as well. Now I've run just a basic disk speed test. Now this isn't the fastest drive. I believe if you buy a faster Gen 3 SSD, you can get up to about 800 megabytes a second on read and write. But this is a cheaper drive because this is only external storage. I'm getting over 500 megabytes a second read and 650 megabytes a second write. So for me that's perfect for like an external drive. Now just gonna copy a few files over onto the drive, just check for stability. So there we go, you can see how quick that is. That was 2.5 gigabytes worth of files, no problems at all. So as an external storage drive, this is absolutely perfect for me. Obviously, being a dock, you can plug your other bits and pieces into it. Just pop in an SD card in here. Okay, so we're gonna just quickly copy a couple of files from the SSD. It's 1.3 gigabytes, some of these are slow SD cards, so I'm not too worried about the speed here because this is a slow card itself. But copying across fine. So no problems with the micro SD card slot. Let's just eject that one. So now just popping in a full size SD card slot. Let's grab, I've got a 6 gigabyte file, just quickly copy this across. Okay, it's not the fastest SD card reader in the world, but we're copying across stably. So that's both the micro SD card and the full-size SD card slots working well. Now, I've also been running for a little while. This is nice and warm. It's obviously dissipating the heat from that SSD. I'm going to quickly just try plugging in a USB device with everything else running on here. Right, so just going to quickly try and copy a file from the T5 external drive. I'm going to put it onto the new SSD. And we're off. Wow, blazing fast. So this is absolutely no problems at all. So you can see I've got my external SSD, I've got my another SSD plugged in here and the SD card. Everything's running at the same time, no issues at all. No power issues, and I'm just running off the iMac's host power. So all good. It's getting warm as I'd expect because it's obviously passively cooled. There's no fans in here. And all in all, good job. So in conclusion, this is an absolutely fantastic little device, especially if you're a Mac user or even a lot of the modern day Windows Ultrabooks which have very few ports. This one device not only gives you back all of your legacy ports that most people use on a day-to-day basis, but also having the SSD slot in here and being able to boost my iMac storage is an absolute lifesaver, especially for me where I'm video editing. I've always got gigabytes worth of footage sitting on my machine that I need to use regularly. So having all that footage on this external drive frees up all that space on the tiny little 512 gigabyte that comes with this iMac. It really fits in with your Mac. This is the space grey and it looks really fantastic. It's a lovely premium build quality, and being made out of aluminium, it makes it a great heat sink. So it's taking the heat away from the SSD inside and radiating it out of this case, keeping that SSD cool so it shouldn't throttle. Now, as usual, any comments or questions, pop them down below and I will get back to you. There will be a link in the description if you do want to pick one of these up on Amazon. And as always, thanks for watching.